So my favorite part of any character design is the eyes. So I'm going to show you a few tricks that I use to give all my characters bright, beautiful eyes. He has nice hazel eyes, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a nice bright orange and I'm going to make a new layer above this off-white that we use for his eyes. I'm going to take my circle brush. I want to make it on a layer above that. I'll make this circle smaller. Okay. I'm going to take the transform tool and I'm going to freeform it, and I'm just going to go to about there. That'll probably work. I'm going to duplicate that. We'll go with black. Transform that layer. Go with black again. Select both of those layers and we'll see how this looks. And this sometimes takes a little trial and error, only because of the shape that he's, or the direction that I have his eyes looking. And also because I like to experiment. You know, if he had really big, dilated pupils, you know, it looks a bit weird. If I was going to do it freehand, I would do it like this. And this is kind of a more cartoony look where you take up the whole half of the eye. And then you add this in here. You know, that's a more cartoony sort of look. But I tend to do more precise eyes. Like this, even though that looks good. Let's see if I can stretch this out some. We'll freeform both of these and see what it looks like. Just kind of see what looks good. I do kind of like that. Yeah, they have his eye. They have his eye pretty big. And I do spend a lot of time on eyes. I really spend a lot of time to get them right. Because I think they add a lot. I actually think they look a bit better when they're smaller. When they're not super huge. Yeah, I kind of like them smaller. So I'm going to alpha lock this orange. Alpha lock. And I'm using this brush, eyeshadow iris. I don't know. I just use it for eyes. It works. Seems to work well. So I just make an arc around, and that sort of gives it a shadow from the outside of the eye. The next thing I do is I select the orange circle, I make a new layer above that, and then I do add. And then I'll take the orange, but I'll go to like the light end of the spectrum. And with my soft brush, I'll lighten up right underneath all of that black. So it's like a nice bright rim of light. And I don't always have to make the striations, but let's try it. I'll do it, I don't think I can do it on this layer. I might have to do it on the layer above that, but yeah. If I do it on this layer, then they'll be like yellow. So I'll make a new layer above. Let's see, maybe I need to make a new layer below. I kind of don't want it to, yeah, okay. So I'll do it on the layer below so it doesn't affect that add layer. And I'll just do some squigglies. We've all seen the squigglies in the eyes. There's a lot of random shapes and things like that. And actually might change the color of these or the opacity of these. But they just add some detail. You know, you don't really even need to do them. The eyes look pretty good flat, but you know, for a tutorial I might as well go all out and give him some really, you know, give his eyes that detail. Okay, so that's what we just did. And we can we can play around with the color and just see if there's anything that looks better. Let's play with the saturation. Okay, so you can make it darker or lighter. Kind of like it when it's a little bit darker. Okay. Let's see what happens if we bring it above the add layer. I like it below the add layer. Okay, so we have that. Another thing that I always do, let me unalpha lock this, is I always make a dark rim around. I'll do black, almost really close to black. I make a dark rim around the eye. And some animals have this, some don't, but I find that it just, I don't know, it just, I don't know, I just like the way it looks, I guess. I was drawing the slow loris on the IGTV live stream, and I didn't have it at first, and then I constantly refer to the reference, and then I realized that he had a really thick black border around his eyes. There's a bunch of animals that have that. Okay. Alright, that's not bad. I guess there's no going back since I just did it on the actual layer. I probably should have done it on a layer above, but that's okay. Another thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to alpha lock the white bits, the white parts of his eyes, and I'm just going to do your standard sort of sphere shading. Whoops, it's a little too dark. If it keeps going too dark, then just change the opacity of the brush so that you're not putting it too darkly too quickly. You want it to be a seamless blend. To make this a little darker, turn this up. Okay. I'll do the same thing with the other one. I actually saw a tutorial. I have to find that tutorial again. It was literally just a tutorial with different sorts of spheres, and it was giving the spheres different textures and things like that. You can use different brushes to kind of give anything a ball, an eye, whatever you want. You can give it all sorts of different kinds of textures. So this is a little bit too much, so I'm just going to take the cream color on airbrush, and I'm just going to kind of bring that back a little bit, because that shading is a little too dark. Okay. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to that layer, and I'm going to add another pass with the eyeshadow iris. So I'm going to alpha lock it again, and I'm just going to add another pass. Oh, that made it really dark. I need to darken these up. I'm going to alpha lock that, and I'm actually going to go in and darken up. I'll use the airbrush. So what I'm going to do here, because these are getting lost in that color, I'm actually going to go here and darken these up. Just on that side, so they don't get lost too much in the shadow. And then I'm also going to go to my add layer. I'm going to select this again. I'm going to go to my add layer. I'm going to go to white. And I'm going to really push this so the light has hit the eyeball and is going through the lens that we have on our eyes, and it's shining off here. So that's what's happening. The light would be hitting here, it's going through the lens, and it's shining off right here. So let me just shine around this a little bit, but it's mostly shining. I'll take a different brush here. It's mostly shining right here. And that's a little too much, so I'm going to back off of that and take away what I just did and leave it. I'm just going to leave it there. Okay. Alright, so now we have our spherical eye and all that good stuff. I'm going to go back to this layer. I'm going to go back to one of those dark colors. And I'm just going to do a little bit on the top as well. Let me make sure I'm alpha locked. Yes, I am. I'm just going to do a little bit on the top as well. Okay, just to round out that sphere. All right, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to blend. Let's see, what is that? I don't even know what that is. I'm going to blend these eyes. Not the bottom part. I'm just blending this part of the eye. Then I'm going to duplicate it. I select that layer, and then I'm going to bring it over here. Okay. That looks pretty good. So now what I might do is go to the line layer, line work. And I don't think I really need this, so I'm going to delete that. because I don't think I need that line. I think it looks good the way it is. But just to double check, I'm going to put that line back. I'm going to take that left eye. I'm going to make sure it doesn't need to be turned anymore. So I'm going to do distort. I'm going to pull this back. I'm going to line it up with the line that we had. Actually, let me try to flatten it out a little bit. I'm going to do a warp. I'm actually going to see if that does anything. The warp is interesting. That actually makes it look level, but it doesn't make it look like a round. You can't see like the lens, which would be in front of this part. So I don't think it really works, unfortunately. So I'll have to go back to. Let me go back and forth and see which one I like better. It actually doesn't look half bad, but it just looks weird turned like that. I'll try one more thing. I'll try freeform, and then I'll try just making it thinner, like this, and bringing it closer in. I think this looks the best. But something's telling me it still needs to be turned a little bit. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to erase this. I'm going to erase that line that we mentioned before. So I'm going to go ahead and erase that. And then I'm going to add that really that really dark line. And I will add it right to the eyeball. I'll use Sketchmaster. Make sure my brush isn't too big. And I'm actually going to go on a little rogue here, but one thing that I will do is I'll constantly fix issues if I see them. So what I'm going to do now is, it just seems like this eye just needs to be a little more round like that. So I think I might actually even leave that clear, because that would be the lens that's in front of this part of the eye. So I'm just going to go down to the base layer and sort of fill in. Actually, I can just I can un-alpha lock where I did the eyes, and then I can just smudge to fill that gap that I made. Smudge tool never lets me down. Okay. I'll have to fix this later. It's a bit strange. I'll have to figure out what I want to do with that, but I don't have to worry about that right now. So let's continue with the eyeballs. So I'm just going to merge these two. Then I'm going to make a layer above them. I'm going to take black And I'm going to use graffiti brush on 30%. And I'm just going to make a shadow. Sometimes I can just get the shadows right in the first go, but most of the time not. So this shadow is just from the, even though the light is hitting it, it's just a little bit of the shadow from here. It just kind of gives it that nice, 3D look. Another thing I'm going to do is I'm going to erase the line. I'm going to erase the line work. Because I don't think I really need that. Alright, so then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that dark color again, and we'll do it on the line work layer. So I think this might help. Okay, so that's there. Okay, good. I think we're looking good. Okay, so we're almost done with the eyes. The last thing that I would do is I'm going to make another layer above the eyeballs. Sorry about that. I moved a little further back from the mic. And then I'm going to do my patented jelly beans. And what I mean by that is I'll just go to a graffiti brush or any just like hard brush, 30%. And then make like a jelly bean type shape. Like so. And then I'll do it on the layer above, and basically this is just the bright glare of the eye. So there's a few different options that you can do to make it look good. You can do a soft white glare that gives it an interesting look. To do it on the other side as well. So this is obviously with the soft airbrush. That actually looks really good. So we'll save that. You can do the old streak. Which usually looks pretty good. So you have the streak there. We'll save that too. And we'll make another layer. And we can add eye glare texture, which I can't remember what brush that was originally. But you can add, where did it go? My glare texture. You can put that here and then softly kind of spread it out. And it just that makes it look like there's like a texture to the eye. I don't know which one to choose. They all look really nice, to be honest with you. I don't usually do the soft brush, but I'm kind of liking it. Let's see what happens if I make it an add layer. I like the way that looks. Let's see if I bring this one up, let's see what happens. I think that actually looks great. I think we'll keep that. Sometimes you can play around with even adding other little pops of like light sources on the eye. You know, maybe light is coming in from somewhere else also. That's a little low. Let's make it a little bigger, and let's make it a little bit. I think we can do it a little smoother than that. It's very important to just like you don't want to be too heavy-handed. Like when you blend, at least for me in this style, like I don't want the blends to really be seen. So I do them all really soft, and then I'll even take the smudge and just sort of smudge it around. Until it sort of feels like a natural bump in the light. I don't know what a bump in the light is either. Okay, great. And then maybe you can and it's definitely dark over here, so you can almost like can add little like pops of light where it's dark too. You know, just to add a little something. Let's see what a little bit of this airbrush looks like on the other side. I think that looks nice. Give them a nice like glassy look. And we'll add we'll add a little bit of texture to, let's see, I'm on Sketchmaster. So we have this layer with the jelly beans. And I'm just going to add a little texture to that layer. And it's just like I'm pretending that there's grass. That's all this is just pretending that there's grass that's being reflected in his eyes. Just kind of breaks up that jelly bean a little bit. It just gives it a little bit of flavor, but you don't actually have to do that. That's just, you know, just a little bit extra. All right, I think these look really good. What is this line? I'm going to go back and change the color of this. Where's line work? I always see things that I forgot to do earlier, so let me just change the color of this line. I'll make it a dark, whatever that color is. There we go. And, let me go a little bit darker with that. Change the color of these a little bit. Actually, we'll just leave them black. Oh, I think I went back a little bit too. There we go. But I definitely want to get rid of that one. So now we're good. Okay, so the only other thing with the eye that I could see that I might want to do is go back to this layer, and sometimes I just add a little bit more darkness to it. Sometimes I just add a little bit more of a dark hue. And same thing with the eyes. When I go back to that layer and alpha lock it, sometimes I just add a little bit more of a dark hue. I see how that looks. And see if it even needs it. Yeah, I kind of like it with a darker hue. Darken up the bottom a little bit more. Okay, good. Now we have his eye covered. And I'm just going to fix the line work. Excuse me. So now I'm just going to fix some of this line work here under his eye. And this is, sometimes I can do this, I'll do it in the later steps, like when I'm done, but sometimes if I see things that I can fix really quickly, I just fix them so I don't have to come back to it and do it later. Alright. I can give this a little more since the other one has a little more oomph. I can give this one a little bit more as well. I'm always comparing the two. And I'll extend this. All right. That looks pretty good. Another thing that I do is I make the mouth bits, like the mouth line, I always make that really dark because I really want that to stand out. Like I really want that to be seen. And this center line on their mouth, I really want to be dark. Because it's really important. It's one of the focal points. The eyes, the mouth. So I want to make sure I keep this nice and dark. And just a little bit thicker than the other lines. Alright, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to alpha lock the line layer again. I'm going to take kind of a darker gray sort of color. And I'm going to color in his teeth. Actually, I can do it on a layer below. I'll do it on a layer below that because it's easier to see with this background. It's easier to see with the black, so I'll keep the black for now, and then I'll just I'll add the beige afterwards. Or not beige, but I'll color the line work afterwards. So the eye really isn't, I feel like the eye really isn't super simple. The hardest part is the position. Like you just want to make them even, like the position of the way that they're looking. That's the hard part. The coloring it in part is just basic steps. It's just getting the planes right. Getting it look like they're both on the same plane, looking in the same direction. That's the challenge with eyes. And that just comes with, doing it a lot. Now I can color the line work with that color I had. That isn't black, but isn't white. Might even be best to just erase this, but we'll try it with the color first. But sometimes usually I just erase teeth lines. Okay, so that's what they look like with that color. Let's see what they look like if they're just erased. I think they probably look better erased. So I'll just erase them. When they're inside the mouth, I definitely erase them. I don't do actually that many animals with teeth that go out of their mouth, like alligators and stuff like that. I don't draw too many of those. Oops. Meant to be on black. Kind of. Okay, so now I'm just going to go on this layer and I'm just going to just clean up some of these teeth. Just kind of even them out a little bit. All right. Another thing I'm going to do is I'm going to alpha lock that. I'm actually going to take that same beige color and I'm going to drag it across right under the mouth line. Let me make sure that's a decent color. You know what? I'll do black and I'm going to do 30% again. That's like my go-to. Black and 30%. That's what I did this shadow with. We're just going to bring that across. Bring that across the teeth. And that gives it a nice little shadow. And you can actually do that. Hear that? Hear how excited I got? You can actually do that underneath. So it's almost like they're getting a shadow from the teeth. Whoops. I don't want to go over it though. See if I can erase this with no problems. Yeah, I can. Good. Okay. Alright, so this is all looking pretty good. I think we're ready for some light.